Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open the ancient texts to uncover the gritty reality of building a legendary empire. We're talking intricate statecraft, staggering transfers of wealth, and the kind of strategic alliances that would make a modern political thriller look like child's play. Forget the idea that these old myths are just simple tales of good and evil. This is a literal masterclass in diplomacy and crisis management. So let's just dive right into it.
Picture this. You're in the middle of a highly volatile crisis. The legendary warrior Arjuna has just abducted Subhadra, and to make matters worse, she's the sister of Krishna. Now, as you can imagine, her family, the fiercely proud Vrishni warriors, are absolutely livid. I mean, they are literally arming themselves to the teeth, ready to launch an immediate, bloody tribal war to get their princess back and avenge this massive insult. So how exactly do you stop a catastrophic conflict when the match has already been lit?
That brings us to Section 1, Justifying Arjuna's Actions.
Let's look at the macro politics here, because what happens next is ancient political PR at its absolute finest. Krishna steps up in front of these furious Vrishni warriors and just completely flips the narrative. He tells them, look, this isn't an insult. He argues that Arjuna actually enhanced their family's prestige by taking her according to ancient warrior codes. But here's the real kicker, and it's brilliant. Krishna points out that Arjuna is so incredibly powerful. Literally no one in all the worlds could physically beat him anyway, well, except maybe the three-eyed god Mahadeva. Krishna is basically saying, guys, why fight a war we absolutely cannot win against a guy who would make the ultimate ally? It's just a flawless execution of political realism.
And you know what? It works. Following this massive diplomatic save, the Vrishnis do go after Arjuna, but not to fight. They go to peacefully bring him back to celebrate the wedding. But Arjuna, being the master strategist he is, doesn't just rush home to his own kingdom with his new bride. No, he plays the long game. He strategically waits out his 12-year exile. He spends a full year in Dwaraka with his new in-laws, and then passes the very last year of his exile in the sacred region of Pushkara. He is intentionally letting the political heat completely die down before finally bringing his bride back to his capital city of Indraprastha.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Appeasing Queen Draupadi.
So, we're pivoting from high-stakes tribal diplomacy to the intimate, but honestly equally dangerous domestic tension waiting for Arjuna back at his palace. Because bringing a new wife home to a fierce queen, that is a whole different kind of battlefield. Arjuna executes this incredibly calculated domestic apology tour, and the order of operations here is no accident. First, he approaches King Yudhishthira to establish royal and fraternal respect. Then he worships the Brahmanas to secure religious and social favor. Only after all that does he face his first wife, Draupadi. But he saves his absolute best de-escalation tactic for last to manage her anger.
And the text really highlights exactly why Arjuna had to tread so carefully here. Draupadi's jealousy is fierce. She basically tells him to get out, using this cutting metaphor that a second tie always loosens the first one on a bundle of wood. You have to understand this wasn't just a simple marital squabble. The threat of a fractured royal household was a very real, very present political danger. If the Pandavas' household fractures, the stability of their entire kingdom is suddenly at risk. So how on earth do they solve this? Well, by stripping away all the royal pretense. Arjuna has Subhadra enter the inner apartments, not dressed as a rival queen, but wearing the simple red silk of a cowherd woman. She walks straight up to Draupadi, bows humbly, and just says, "I am thy maid." By submitting that completely, Subhadra totally disarms the tension. Draupadi's jealousy just melts away. She hastily embraces Subhadra, and Kunti gives her blessing. Boom, domestic peace is secured. Just a masterful stroke of psychological diplomacy.
Which brings us to Section 3, an epic royal dowry.
With domestic peace finally achieved, we shift to the massive economic alliance solidified by this marriage. The source text reveals a staggering scale of ancient geopolitical wealth transfer. Honestly, it functions a lot like modern state-backed funding. When you break down this overwhelming list of livestock and chariots, you see a literal ocean of wealth flooding into the decorated streets of Indraprastha. Krishna alone gives 1,000 gold chariots, each with 4 steeds, plus 10,000 milk-yielding Mathura cows. We're talking thousands of white mares and mules, and literally hundreds of thousands of draft horses. This is not just some extravagant wedding gift. This is the transfer of the actual economic engine required to run and expand an empire. And it goes way beyond livestock. The text details a massive transfer of human and material capital, too. 1,000 young, highly skilled attendants are gifted, each wearing 100 pieces of gold around their necks. On top of that, Subhadra is given 10 carrier loads of first-class gold, described as blazing like fire. This absolutely cements the immense geopolitical weight of the Vrishni alliance. They aren't just sending well wishes, they are literally funding the Pandavas' future dominance.
But without a doubt, the most imposing gift comes from Rama, 1,000 war elephants. And the text describes them so vividly, each one as large as a mountain summit, equipped with golden thrones, and flowing with 3 streams of secretions. Now that specific detail means these elephants are in rut, making them highly aggressive and primed for war. This single gift represents unmatched, irresistible military might. The source text beautifully compares this massive influx of wealth and animals to a surging ocean flooding into the Pandava city, filling it to the brim, much to the absolute sorrow of all their foes.
Next up, Section 4, the mighty heir Abhimanyu. Now we get to the ultimate purpose of this newly fortified, incredibly wealthy alliance, securing the bloodline. Subhadra gives birth to Abhimanyu, and the text describes his physical and martial traits with pure awe. We're talking a broad chest, bull-like eyes, a face like a snake's hood, and the pride of a lion. He's fearless, he's wrathful in battle. In fact, he was so highly prized that the moment he was born, King Yudhishthira gave away 10,000 cows and gold coins just to celebrate. As he grew, he mastered the Vedas and acquired the science of both celestial and human weapons. He is quite literally the genetic and martial culmination of this powerhouse alliance.
And finally, Section 5, Draupadi's 5 sons.
The dynasty definitely doesn't end there. The explainer text details the further expansion of the Pandava legacy through Queen Draupadi, who gives birth to 5 powerful sons, spaced exactly 1 year apart. By mapping out their names, we can easily understand their unique origins and see exactly which of the 5 Pandava husbands fathered which son. For instance, Yudhishthira's son Prativindya is named for his capability to bear weapons like the formidable Vindhya mountains. Arjuna's son Shudakarman is named for the celebrated feats Arjuna achieved during his long exile. Every single name is loaded with political, religious, or martial significance, tying the entire family together under one unified, unshakable legacy. After completing their rites of infancy, all of these sons are personally trained by Arjuna. And the text makes it crystal clear they grow into great warriors, broad-chested and entirely equal to the children of the Celestials themselves. The Pandava family hasn't just secured their current borders with unimaginable wealth and alliances, they have essentially forged an untouchable next generation.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to look at the board as it stands. Through a single, highly controversial abduction, Arjuna and his family managed to navigate tribal fury, defuse a domestic powder keg, amass an absolute ocean of wealth and military assets, and birth a generation of godlike heirs. But it does leave us with a burning question. When a royal family amasses this much unprecedented wealth and martial power, what forces in the world could possibly rise up to challenge them next? Thanks for joining us, and keep questioning the incredible strategies of the ancient world.